Hello and welcome to the Chair and Vice Chair Paper Trail tutorial for NACE International conferences, topical shows, and area shows. Much of the content that will be discussed is directed towards symposium officers affiliated with the annual Corrosion Conference, but many aspects are also relevant to the topical and area shows offered by NACE. If you have specific questions, it is best to reach out to your staff contact that has been communicating with you regarding any deadlines and requirements related to your session and event. This tutorial will demonstrate how to access the paper trail system within the NACE website. We'll explore how to review abstracts and how to accept or reject the submission and provide feedback to the submitting author. We'll also locate the Resource tab in the system, which contains many helpful documents, especially for annual conference participants, but also for some topical and area shows. We'll show you where to review abstract descriptions after the submission process is complete, in case you need to review those. And we'll also look at how to assign specific reviewers to technical papers, in addition to where to find extension requests from authors and presenters so you can approve or deny those requests. We'll also illustrate how to arrange the paper presentation order so it's printed correctly in the final program. This is required for the annual conference. Topical and area shows do not typically use this functionality, so please contact your NACE staff member if you have questions about the presentation order that will take place on site at your particular event. We'll also take a look at how to access the draft and final papers and how to enter comments for the authors. Again, this is a function that's primarily applicable to the annual conference, but some topical shows may also have papers. We'll also take a look at how to access the presentation slides. All topical and area shows, as well as the annual conference, use presentation slides, so we'll want to make sure that you pay close attention to this particular session. Especially for symposium vice chairs at the annual conference, you must review all of the presentations for commercial bias and formatting and approve those presentations prior to traveling on site to the conference. And lastly, we'll show you how to contact NACE staff and the other individuals that are affiliated with your event should you have a need to communicate with them. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and contact NACE staff, specifically members of the Technical Activities Department and the Conferences Department at NACE should be able to assist with any inquiry you have. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, some of the items we're going to discuss today in this tutorial may not be relevant for your particular show, as the requirements for topical shows and area shows vary. This tutorial provides a comprehensive overview of the entire paper trail system, so keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. This video is going to be somewhat informal, as I'll be walking you through the system step by step rather than using screenshots, so you'll actually get to see how the system functions on the website on the internet. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll want to open up a web browser and navigate to the NACE homepage. It's www.nace.org. Once you're on the homepage, you'll want to go ahead and click on the blue login button in the top right corner. For anyone who's been involved with NACE in the past, whether it be with a technical symposia or an area or topical show, or perhaps you're certified through NACE and you've taken some training and education courses, your contact information and username will already be in our database. It's important that you use your existing name, your existing username and password, because if you create a new username and password, you'll have duplicate records in our system, which will become problematic later on when you're trying to access your information. If you've forgotten your username or password, you have two options. You can go ahead and click Forgot Your Username or Password to reset it on your own. Or if it's during regular business hours and you'd prefer to have someone assist you, you can contact the 281 number or the 1-800 number listed at the bottom of the website to contact a first service representative to assist you. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to utilize my colleague's contact information to log in, as he's been assigned as chair of the mock event. So once you enter your username and password, you'll want to hit log in. And this is actually going to take you to the My Account page of the NACE website. If for any reason you navigate away from the My Account page to access the paper trail system while you're logged in, you can access it by clicking My Account in the top right corner up here. Once here, click on the paper trail link found on the left-hand column of the page. Here, you'll have 1 to 2 boxes. You'll have a paper trail reviewer portal, which will be the way that you access your symposia that you are serving as chair or vice chair. But you may also have a portal if you've submitted any papers in the past for any topical or area show or for the annual conference. It's important that while you're serving as a reviewer or as a chair or vice chair with reviewer privileges, you'll want to use the reviewer portal. Once you click on the reviewer portal, it will take you to a list of any events that you're associated with. For those of you who have been involved with NACE for several years and have been involved in shows both at the area level as well as the annual conference or topical shows, you'll want to make sure that you've navigated to the correct event from the drop-down menu. Your symposium listing will not populate if you are on the wrong event, so please double check if you're having any complications with accessing your symposia. If you have several listings, or if you happen to be serving as a reviewer as well as serving as a chair, you'll want to go ahead and click on the role column to make sure that you can sort the order. Once you've identified the symposium that you're looking to review, and it lists you as chair or vice chair, highlight it and go ahead and click to access it. Here you'll see the general page where it lists the event. For this example, it's Corrosion 2017. And you'll also see the name of your symposium or your session. For our purposes, it's the Tutorial Submission Symposium for Corrosion 2017. Here you'll also find a listing of people affiliated with the event for the chair and vice chair roles, as well as the NACE staff liaison and any reviewers that might be affiliated with the event. You, as the symposium officer, do not have the ability to add reviewers on your own. A list of reviewers must be sent to the NACE staff liaison so they can enter them manually. So please ensure that you follow the deadlines that you've been given to submit the name of reviewers in a timely manner so they can be added to the system. If you'd like to make sure that your vice chair has elevated privileges so that they're the same as you as chair, you'll want to make sure that this checkbox to the right is checked. If it's marked as an X, that means that the vice chair cannot go in and approve all of the final papers should they need to assist you. If you want to go ahead and make sure that's checked so they have equal access, and then you can begin with your review process. So if you click on the blue Abstracts tab, you'll see a listing of all of the abstracts that were submitted to your symposium. If they've already been reviewed and you accepted them, you'll see a green checkbox. If they've yet to be reviewed, you'll see a blue question mark in the left column where it says status. For the purposes of this presentation, let's go ahead and select the blue question mark since it has not been reviewed yet, and we can go through the process now. Here you'll see the abstract title listed at the top, and then you'll see the presenting author information. If there was a secondary author, this information would also be listed over here on the right. But for the presenting author, you'll see that it'll list their first name or their full name, the parent company, their email, and also phone if they've listed it. You'll then see the title again, and you'll see a brief description. The brief description is usually somewhere between 300 to 400 words, although it can be shorter. It's just a maximum of 10,000 characters. It will not contain any graphs or charts or tables. It's going to be plain text. So once you go ahead and review the information, there's a rating system and a status. The rating system is used for some of the topical and area shows, but the rating system is not used for the annual conference. So you can just leave that to read as 3. But for topical and area shows, please consult the information that you receive from your NACE staff liaison to determine what the significance is of the rating scale. For the purposes of the annual conference, you'll want to go ahead and select from the status menu after you've reviewed the content, and you'll want to either hit accepted or rejected. For this tutorial, I'm going to show what it's like to reject the paper. So we'll select rejected. And here in this box, when you reject an abstract, it's required that you provide them with feedback. It's important that the author understands why the abstract was rejected, which it could be as simple as putting a sentence that states the volume of papers received was too large for you to accept all of the abstracts because they were all high quality submissions, or it could actually be something specific about the content. So I've entered in a comment here to state that it was rejected because there wasn't enough information provided, and then you want to make sure that you hit the save button in the bottom right corner. Now when you click back on the abstract tab, you're going to notice that that submission has disappeared. That's because it is no longer going to be incorporated into your session. So here you'll see that the remaining abstracts have been accepted and they're listed with a green checkbox. Before auto-generated emails are sent to the presenting author that submitted the abstract, you're going to need to make sure that you finalize the session. If you click on the Finalize button on the right corner, you'll see that a box pops up to warn you that after finalizing, no further changes can be made. Are you sure? You'll want to go ahead and click the Finalize button to ensure that those changes are made. But should there be an issue where you need to change the status of an abstract, you can go ahead and contact your NACE staff liaison and they should be able to assist you. So now you'll notice once you hit the Finalize button, it has disappeared. So no further changes can be made to the abstracts. You'll also notice that the other tabs for the draft paper, the final paper, presentation, and presentation order are now available for you to see. If we click on the draft tab, you'll see that there's several papers that have been submitted and that have been returned for revisions, might be approved, or may have been under review, or may have been approved. Let's go ahead and take a look at the abstract, the initial abstract that was submitted. So here we have the author that had submitted their abstract, it was approved, and they went on to the next step to submit their draft paper. The draft paper can be seen here by clicking. It's going to be a Word document that'll open up on your browser, and you can see here that they have the date and time that it was submitted as well, so you'll be able to tell in comparison to the deadline of when it's due when the paper was submitted. Here you'll want to go ahead and enter your comments in this box. You can go ahead and provide them as much or as little as you'd like. Just make sure that it's beneficial for the author so they can make appropriate changes. This is not your primary function. This would be the work of the technical reviewer that you assign to the paper. So this is optional, but I want you to know that as chair and vice chair, you do have the ability to leave a comment. If you want to leave lengthier comments that won't fit in the box or that contain special characters, you'll want to go ahead and make sure that you provide that description in a Word document, save it, and then once you've saved it, you can go ahead and select that file from your computer and you can go ahead and upload it there. And then you can select the action. If you put special characters in this text box, there's a chance that it's going to come up as an error and the comments are not going to be saved. So again, if you're going to use any special characters, whether it be a plus symbol or a forward slash or a backslash or any sort of brackets, it may be beneficial for you to provide the comments in a Word document and then upload that file. Once that's complete and you've selected your action, you'll want to hit return for revisions. Once that's saved, you'll see that it said update successful. You can navigate back to the draft tab and you'll see the status column, so it's marked as returned for revisions. Then you can go ahead and see when they submit a second tab, or when they submit a second version, there will be a second tab that populates. You'll then see that they have their revised paper and the date and time that it was uploaded. But then you'll also see that there's an extension request pending for this draft. Please approve or deny this extension request before reviewing any revisions. So what does that mean? If we go back to the paper manager, you'll notice here that there was a blue question mark where it says extension. Now, an extension should only be requested by an author that's unable to meet a deadline to submit a draft paper or final paper or presentation slides. This should not be a request for a paper length extension, meaning if their paper exceeds 15 pages, that you must submit a waiver to the ACPC chair and NACE staff liaison. That's specific to the corrosion conference. Rules and restrictions may vary for the topical and area shows. But if you see this question mark, you'll want to go ahead and click on the question mark. And you can go ahead and approve the extension or deny the extension. By approving an extension, you're giving the submitter 2 weeks additional past the deadline to submit the requirement, whether it be the draft paper or the final paper or the presentation. It will give them 2 weeks past the deadline. Please note, only one extension is available to an author per cycle. So, for example, for Corrosion 2017, if you provide an extension for this particular author, they will not be able to request an extension in the draft or in the final stage or in the presentation stage. So, please keep that in mind, and that has also been communicated to those authors. So for these purposes, we're going to go ahead and approve the extension. And once your request is processed, you'll see that it states that the extension request was approved, and you'll now have access to view the revised paper that they had incorporated the comments from this stage. So you'll see also, as the chair or vice chair, you can see comments that may have been left by the reviewer for the author to see. The author will not see the reviewer's name. It will just see that they will just see that the comments were made by the reviewer, and there's suggested comments here. And you can also access the Word document that contains their comments if they had special characters included. So here, if everything looks good, again, you don't necessarily have to add comments. It's the role of the reviewer to enter those comments. But you do have the opportunity to do so, or if they request you to also provide some feedback because it's a complex topic, or they have a question that they're unsure of, you can definitely provide your feedback in this section. So if you just want to approve it, you can hit the apply action, and that will take you to the next step. So then, once you've moved on to the final paper stage, you'll see that the final paper, once it's been approved, I apologize about that, I clicked on the wrong one. Once they've been approved, you'll see that you'll want to click over to the final paper tab, because then the author has the ability to upload their final paper as a PDF. If you have issues with authors uploading their papers, please note that it might be the file type. During the draft stage, it must be a Word document. During the final stage, it must be a PDF. So you'll see that they entered it here, uploaded it, the date and time again. You can add comments here. Your reviewers can add comments here. And then once that is completed, you would go ahead and mark that as approved. and return for revisions. By this stage, you're unlikely to withdraw or reject a paper unless it's been requested by the author that you withdraw it. Maybe they're not able to attend because of travel restrictions or because their schedule does not permit them to attend. But by this stage, they shouldn't be rejected. If you're going to reject a paper in the final paper stage, please contact NACE staff before doing that, because it should just be an issue of them revising their paper to ensure that it meets the technical program manual standard. But once you go ahead and do that and mark that as approved, you can apply the action, and then it'll be approved in the system, and you'll see that that update was successful and it was marked as approved. So then you'll go over to the presentation stage, and here for the corrosion vice chairs, the annual conference vice chairs, you'll want to go ahead and make sure that you pay attention to this, because this is the section where you would access the PowerPoint slides and download them to your computer to review them for any commercialism or bias that might be present. So you're going to be looking for company or product logos, trade names, any sort of issues of commercialism that might be marketing or advertising a product or service or company. You'll want to make sure that those are removed from the presentation slides prior to getting on site to the conference. So if you found any of that, or if you have other comments that you would request that they make technical information changes, you can provide those comments here. And then if you'd like, you can also upload a revised version of the slides. It's not your responsibility to upload or change the slides. You can just provide them the comments. You can do so here, or if you wanted to actually make the changes to the PowerPoint slides, you can do so, and then choose the file from your computer and go ahead and upload that here, and then either mark it as approved or returned for revisions. You can see it's a similar process throughout the various stages. So you would choose the action, and again, it would really only be approved or returned for revisions at this point. We really wouldn't use withdraw or reject at this late stage, but then you'd hit apply for action. So a few other things I wanted to point out. You've heard me mention several times the resource tab. So if you look over to the right, there's a resources tab, and this has very important documents and templates that your authors and your reviewers will use, but also you yourself might find it beneficial to use some of them. Some of the things I'd like to call out are the Guide to Paper Trail for Symposium authors or officers, which would be those that are serving as chair and vice chair. This is a paper guide that is working in tandem with this presentation that will provide you written instructions on how to access Paper Trail and how to use or what the functionality is of the tool. So you can go ahead and reference that if you're more of a if you'd prefer to have that document handy rather than watching this video in the future. And then there's other things that you will want to be aware of. There is the job aid for the symposium chairs and vice chairs. So the job aid is something that was created by the ACPC, and it outlines the responsibilities for both the chair and the vice chair and gives some context to working with authors as well as the volunteer reviewers and NACE staff. You'll also find information here on how to contact, if this is for corrosion, you would contact Jacob Adams. That's me. I am the Symposium Manager with Technical Activities Department, or perhaps Ed Manns, the Director of the department. And currently for the ACPC for the Corrosion Conference, it would be Kimberly Joy Harris. Please note, this document is updated on an annual basis, so these contacts may change. So that's why it's important that you consult the resource tab to see how the contact information has changed. You'll also remember that on that general tab, you were able to click and you can view the contact information for the staff liaison as well as the other people that are associated, and you'll have their email address right there. Some other things I want to point out on the Resources tab, you'll find the Technical Program Manual. This is a required read for the authors. They must sign off on it and acknowledge that they've read it and that they will comply with all of the rules that are outlined in the manual. It's important that you as chairs and vice chairs are familiar with this document as well. So if they have any questions or concerns, you can address it. Of course, if you have any other additional questions that you might not know how to answer, please feel free to refer to the staff liaison affiliated with the symposium. Again, this document is specific to corrosion, so if you're watching this tutorial and you're involved in a topical or area show, the document will look a little different. Some shows might have a manual, some might not. So if you do have a manual, your staff liaison will reach out to you to let you know what those requirements are. And then the other things I want to point out are there is templates that were made available to the authors. There is the 1 or 2 author template, or if there is a paper that has more than 2 authors, they can use the multiple author template. There's also a PowerPoint template slide that they should be using that is branded to the to utilize the logo affiliated with the Corrosion Conference. Some of the topical and area shows may also have a template, some may not. You'll have to consult with the staff liaison, or they should probably communicate that information to you in advance. And then also there is the table with common medal names and UNS numbers affiliated with it. So those should be used in the paper and the presentation slides to ensure that we're minimizing any issues of commercialism among companies or products and logos and things like that. So some other things that I want to point out. If we go back to this General tab, depending on the volume of your symposia, it might be rather difficult for reviewers to understand which papers they're to review. You'll notice next to the reviewer's name there's a little wrench in the blue box, and it says you can configure the review privileges. If you click that box, a window will pop up and you'll see a list of the paper titles that were submitted for the abstracts. You'll want to go ahead and click over on the right hand side where there is the blue box. You'll see the circle with the line through it. That means that's not currently assigned to that particular reviewer. If you want to assign it to that particular reviewer, you'll want to go ahead and click that box, and you'll see that it turns into a check mark. That means the reviewer, so in this instance Leslie Martinez, has reviewer privileges for the draft paper submission title here. Right now she doesn't have access to any of the other ones because you've only checked that one box. So please make sure that you enter the system prior to the submission dates, specifically for the officers affiliated with corrosion. Make sure that it's before that draft paper deadline, because as soon as that deadline hits and we're requesting reviewers go into the system to review the first draft, we'll need to make sure that those are assigned. So for example, with Corrosion 2017, you'll need to make sure that the papers are assigned as early as possible, no later than September 16th. We're encouraging you to have it done in August. All of those dates are outlined in the technical program manual, and that will be updated on an annual basis. So if you're viewing this manual after, or this recording after 2017, please just consult the technical program manual to learn of which date this must be completed. So then you'd hit save, and then now Leslie will have access to that paper that you had assigned her. We had also mentioned the presentation order. You'll want to go ahead and make sure that depending on your topic, you might want them to be presented in a particular order, or you may have received a request from an author who says that they can only present in the morning versus the afternoon, or vice versa. So here is where you'd want to go ahead and arrange the order, and you can just select it and then drag and drop the order that you would like it submitted. It might look rather problematic right now, or it might be confusing because it's all the same author for the purpose of this tutorial, but this would obviously list the author's name and then the title of their paper. So you can arrange however you would like, and you'll see that the numbers change as you move it. So make sure that this is done. Also, again, you'll want to consult the program manual to ensure that this is done in a timely manner before NACE staff goes to print with any of their programming and promotional materials. And once you do that, it's very important that you hit save in the bottom right corner again. Oftentimes we have chairs that just list the reviewer or list the order of the presentations but don't hit save, and then they click to a different tab and it doesn't necessarily always save. It's still in the same order because we haven't logged out of the system, but if you were to log out and then log back in, there's a chance that it may rearrange, or if there's another final paper that is approved after you've made this presentation order or rejected, that order may shift. So you'll just want to make sure that you always hit save based on this presentation order. So as we are wrapping up now, just one other area that I want to call your attention to is the Reports tab. So many times you will have an author or, primarily an author that will email you, or you might end up hearing from them that, oh, I never received a communication, or I wasn't aware and I didn't receive an email. Well, here under the Reports tab, you can click on Audit Logs, and you can actually see every single email that was sent. You'll see the email type. So you'll remember that we just responded to that extension request, that we approved it. So here, the email type, you responded to the extension request. It'll tell you the document number, which is the abstract number, the title, and who the author was, and it tells you when it was sent, the date and the time. So many times, if you've already done it and you made sure you hit save at the various steps, chances are that it might have gotten caught in their spam or junk folders. So please encourage them to check their spam or junk folder. And of course, they can also reach out to NACE staff, but in the event that they need a prompt response, you can always just log in and click Reports and then Audit Logs, and you'd be able to see all of the emails that have been sent regarding your symposium. Over here, you'll see a list of your primary authors, their name, their paper number, their abstract title. As you scroll, you'll see their address, their city, their state, their postal code, their country, and their email address. So for those of you who might want to contact your authors, you can go ahead and click on Reports, Presenting Author Report, and then you can see the emails listed here so you could send them one. If you click onto this tab, this one should give you an abstract status report, and you can also go ahead and export that if you'd like. I believe because they're all the abstracts have been accepted, that's why it's not populating right now. Here you'll go ahead and find the bio and copyright report. So this is important right before we get on site to conference. This ensures that you have the primary author's name. It'll list all of the authors, so if there's secondary authors, they will also be listed. It'll list the abstract name, the document number. By the time we set the presentation order in this tab, the time and date will be populated, and then it'll list a bio for the author affiliated with that particular paper. So this is a great document for you to consult prior to the event, and this is something that NACE staff, at least for the annual conference, we print this document out for you, and it's made available for you at your speaker breakfast. They'll be waiting for you on the tables for you to review. This is the bio information is whatever is submitted by the author. So please note there might be some authors that don't submit a bio or they put NA. That's something you would have to clarify with them. You can either do it in advance, or you can clarify with them the morning of your speaker breakfast so you know how you should introduce them. And then again here you can see a presentation order report. Once you've hit saved, you'll see the order in which the paper presentations were arranged. And once the times are assigned by NACE staff, they would be populated here as well. So this is the information that would be published in the final program. So I believe that concludes all of the functionalities that I wanted to make sure that you're familiar with within the paper trail tool. Um, if there is anything that you believe that I have missed, please feel free to go ahead and contact your NACE staff liaison. They can definitely help answer any questions you may have. So that would be somebody who either works in the technical activities department or the conferences department. We'd be more than happy to help you. But other than that, this concludes our tutorial of the Paper Trail tool for chairs and vice chairs. Again, keep in mind some of this content was only specific to the corrosion annual conference. Area and topical shows may have different responsibilities. This was an overview of the entire system. So specific questions can be directed to your liaison. But on behalf of NACE, we thank you for your time for reviewing this video and your hard work and your contributions that you put forth on behalf of NACE to ensure that we have successful shows. We would not be able to do it without you. And we're here to help you. We just ask that you please be mindful of deadlines and ask questions if you're unsure about something, because we can definitely help you better understand your roles and responsibilities and what's needed to ensure that your symposia and session go well. So we look forward to working with you, and have a good day. Goodbye.